Welcome to the Sky Blue Times YouTube channel. Today I wanted to look at quickly Juma in more detail, some of the stats that we've seen, what his loan spell's been like, where he needs to improve, and where we could expect him to come into the team in the future. So it's important to bear in mind as I go through some of the other statistics in this video is that this is a player who has moved from Africa only last summer to Spain to play in the first team over in La Liga, and then has moved to Manchester City, gone out on loan to France, playing for a team in the top flight in France, and had to make a really quick adjustment, not only with the ability on the pitch, making that jump to Europe, but then also changing his living situation from being Africa, then going to Spain, then he's moving over to France. So that's a lot for a young player to go through, particularly when you're making that kind of jump at an important moment of your career, with a player that hasn't played outside of Africa until he's made that move last year. So please bear in mind all those kind of things when we do go through his statistics, is that there's going to be a lot of really impressive stuff. There's going to be a lot of stuff that needs work, but it is completely understandable, in my opinion, to see those sort of things come up when it comes to Juma. So yeah, let's get into it. If we move to this one here, and just before we touch on the stats, it's worth mentioning Spencer Mossman, an account well worth checking out. Does loads of great graphics, covers a lot of the data in more detail than you see from most people online, and it's great to be able to compare that to some of the stuff that you are watching, and see what things that you are seeing and that maybe you're missing when you're looking at some of the content that he does put out. As you can see here, he's incredible in the air for such a young player that's made that big move, as I mentioned, the changing quality, yet with all his physical qualities is still able to stand out with winning tons of aerial duels and being really dominant in winning most of those aerial duels. You see here, obviously, alongside some of the other highly rated young centre-backs, one of those being Levi Colwill. If we move over to this one with ground duels, same thing carries across. This is a player that's very good when it comes to winning his duels. If you watch any of the matches from Juma, what will stand out and definitely stood out to me is how clean he already is in his duels, really efficient in moving in, using his physicality, winning the ball, moving out of trouble and moving the ball on, which is quite surprising for a young player, let alone a player that's made such a big leap early in his career. And then this one here is obviously the downside. This is a model that Spencer has for measuring the value of players with their carry and their passing ability, and Juma doesn't rate very highly with this at all. Obviously, alongside Nathan Collins playing in the Premier League for Brentford, up on the other end you've got the likes of Josko Vardiol, which City fans will know very well, Levi Colwill, Saliba, Kabasi. These are all players known for their on-ball ability, but as I've mentioned, this is a player that's made a big leap, that's playing for a team that have barely any of the ball, that are in the relegation zone in La Liga, that are sitting back deep, defending deep, not looking to progress that much on the ball. And this graphic, the last two, were based on the first part of his season when he was on loan in Spain, whereas when we saw him move to Lens, which we'll get onto a bit later, we did see more of him on the ball, be a bit more proactive out of possession, pressing, and looking to play and looking to carry through pressure. Just that to bear in mind, but it's obviously something that does need to improve, and you want to have a big sample size of him making that development in his game. Now, this is just a few different things I pulled from his loan spell when he was in Spain. Does very well over here with matching his speed, matching his footwork with the opposition attacker before they're coming into the box. Somebody that has this immense physicality, but he is switched on, is reading the opposition, and then uses that physicality in the right moments, just like this one over here. Ball goes down out wide, shrugs a player off, he's able to collect the ball, pass back to his keeper, and then move on. He's not somebody that's just charging in and kind of overusing that kind of physical edge that he has. He's using it in the right moments that he can, but then still being conscious of what he is doing with the ball, being efficient with his touches. So yeah, really kind of like encouraging stuff to see from him, and that translated to when you saw him in games for Lens in France, to still be a player that is very clean and tidy in his duels in that league, up against some other forwards. Really impressive stuff. And then these two kind of brief examples here, I mentioned that on the ball you haven't seen a lot, but there are the flashes there. This one down in the bottom right corner, intercepting the ball, then playing it through the lines to his teammate. This one here on the bottom left side, he carries past an opposition player that was pressing him, comes inside and then plays that pass to his teammate in the centre. You will also see him using kind of like long driven switches out to the wingers on the far side. You also see him driving balls on the ground through the middle of the pitch to his striker that's dropped. We've seen all of those kind of passes and moments throughout his loan spell in kind of flashes, but we've not seen a kind of consistent season of him doing all those things. But given it is his first season, given the jump he's had to make, the team he's playing for, that is to be expected. But the flashes that we have seen, I think, are really, really positive and worth certainly worth City picking up the player, and there's no surprise that they did. And this was him for Lens in one of the games. Strictly just kind of looking at the stats, and this is a player that will play a lot centrally as a centre back. Involved a lot proactively in recovering the ball, as you can see here with all the ball recoveries. I mentioned that playing for Lens, they're a lot more active out of possession and trying to recover the ball, and we saw Juma do really well in that aspect. And obviously over here, when it comes to the progressive actions, the passes and the carries, we're seeing a lot more of that, because in certain games Lens are playing up on the halfway line, they have possession. They are looking to dominate the ball and attack their opposition, and then in other games you're seeing them sat more deep, defending in their kind of like low defensive block. So you did see a good mix throughout that second loan spell for Juma when he was at Lens, about what he can do both on the ball and off the ball. But still, as I mentioned at the start of the video, it's a small sample size. He's moved between two different clubs. He's had to move from Africa to Europe as well. So having that kind of settled long spell at a club, he hasn't had yet, and that's why I think when it comes to next season, the decision to send him back to France, back on loan, to be able to go to a team that could be playing in the Champions League if they win their qualifying round, I think it's going to be very beneficial for him to stay in France and have a full season there. I think that's the right decision, and as I mentioned with all the stuff on the ball, the concerns that people may have, we've only seen it in flashes. We've not seen it consistently across a full season. So that is part of what you're looking for when Juma goes back out on loan, is to have that full season of him showing everything that he can do. But when it comes to the defensive aspect, I think he's more than ready for what you're going to need at Manchester City. And if we're just going to move on to this example here, comparing to Manchester City defenders in the last 3 years, I've added onto this graphic here the three defenders that they picked up in Juma, Vitor Hayes and Kusanov. And as you can see here, when it comes to aerial duel win rate and the volume of duels that they are winning, all three perform very well in this metric. It's no surprise that they've been recruited, and particularly Juma is up in that top corner. And then if I move over to this one here, this is Man City players over the last 5 years. You're looking at ball recoveries per 90 and aerial duels 1 per 90. Obviously, Stones and Ake were exceptional in these seasons. This one, this blue dot here that's not labelled is Laporte, but I've added in Juma, Vitor Hayes and Kusanov at their last spells at their clubs before they moved to Manchester City. And you can see here already these guys are making a lot of ball recoveries and are winning a lot of aerial duels, compared to like these ones here. This is all Ruben Diaz, where he's not winning as many aerial duels, and then over the course of the last few years, his ball recoveries has dropped down a bit. If I was to highlight on here the likes of Akanji, again, he's much lower on his aerial duels. He's around 1, so he's right over here, compared to all 3 centre-back prospects that we brought in are all players that win a lot of aerial duels. So I think that's an important thing to mention, that you're obviously buying the strengths of these 3 players, and then over the course of their development, so Hayes and Kusanov that we've seen on the ball and being more settled in the City side, we've seen that. But for Juma, he's going to be having that experience out on loan, and that's what we're looking for. He obviously ticks the box physically, ticks the box defensively, but it's about the on-ball ability that we want to see the progression in for him. So yeah, this brings me to the end of the video. Only a real kind of like short one. I think when it comes to Juma, ticks a lot of boxes with his physicality, with his defensive attributes. But on the ball, we're looking to see that improvement. We're looking to see him settled for a full season at one team, and then you're able to have a good assessment of that full sample size about whether he's ready to progress into the team. When it comes to 2026, I'd be looking at whether it is Ake, Akanji, whatever centre-back decides to stay this summer, by the time you get to the following summer, this is the player that you've got already within the group that's able to come in and replace them like for like without then needing to buy another centre back. Comfortable playing as the left centre back or the right centre back, playing in the middle as a centre back as well. So you've already got your ready-made replacement if you are to move on, say, Nathan Ake by the 2026 summer. If there's anything you think I've missed out or you had questions about for Juma Bar, then please let me know down below in the comments. Otherwise, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and we'll be back with other videos this week.